Ford is in the middle of a quality crisis. Ford is losing the trust of their consumers. So if someone's paying $81,000 for a truck, they're going to expect it to be of the highest quality possible when they're shelling out that kind of money for this kind of truck. So these quality issues that Ford is having is destroying the trust of their dealers and, more importantly, their consumers. And when they start losing the trust of their consumers because of quality issues, it's not just a OEM problem. It's not just a Ford namesake problem. It's a problem for these dealerships as well. So I'm here at Ford today because quality over the last few years has been a major issue for Ford, so much so that it's actually hurting Ford's brand. So quality concerns for Ford, it's not a new thing. They've actually been dealing with this for years and years and years, and this is actually a problem that Ford itself knows that it needs to handle. In fact, one of the things that the current CEO, Jim Farley, talked about when he came on as the new CEO is that they had to get quality under control, and it seems like they're actually moving in the wrong direction. So recently there was a poll taken by a lot of dealers to recognize who was the least trusted franchise to actually have your dealership through. And you got to think that a lot of these franchise owners, even the one that I'm walking on right now, they have multiple franchises between different brands. This one itself I know has Toyota, they have Chevy, GMC, a Honda dealership. So many of these franchises, they go across multiple brands. So they actually have first-hand experience working with all the different OEMs, and Ford was voted the least trusted of all of these brands. And there's going to be multiple reasons for this. One, Ford is pushing out a lot of EVs that these dealers can't sell. They don't like that, and a lot of these dealers recognize that they're not going to be able to sell these EVs, but they still have to do build outs for charging stations and just having the space to put these EVs on their lot when they know that they can't sell them. Two, these dealerships know that the price of these vehicles have to come down, and what's Ford said for the new coming, the 2024s, MSRPs are actually going to be higher this year than they were last year. And dealers don't like this because they're already having a hard time selling all these $70,000, $80,000 trucks now. They need more Mavericks, they need more entry-level vehicles to be able to sell to consumers, because right now the environment is not very good to actually sell a lot of these big expensive trucks. But the biggest reason why the trust from Ford has left these dealers is the quality. So what's happening is that when the quality suffers across these trucks, across these vehicles that these dealers have to sell, it's going to take consumers away from this dealership. Not because they don't like the dealership, it's because they don't like these Ford trucks. They're scared of them. They're seeing that Ford is the #1 most recalled brand, and the recalls are out of these dealerships' hands. It is up to the OEMs to be able to fix these recalls, to be able to put vehicles out, put these trucks out that don't need recalls. They don't need to be fixed right off the line. That's going to hurt the trust of the consumer, and then it's going to hurt the trust of these dealers. So now here's the even bigger problem. Ford is losing the trust of their consumers. And when they start losing the trust of their consumers because of quality issues, it's not just a OEM problem. It's not just a Ford namesake problem. It's a problem for these dealerships as well. But I can tell you over the last few years that these dealerships have not helped the problem. Price gouging from a lot of these dealerships can also destroy the trust of these consumers. And even though price gouging is actually dealership specific, if a consumer walks into a Ford dealership and they see that there are market adjustments on everything, if they're charging crazy amounts for dealer add-ons that the consumer just doesn't even want, but they still have to pay to buy the vehicle, it's going to leave a bad taste in their mouth for a brand like Ford if they're seeing it at a lot of Ford dealerships. And this is what's happened over the last few years, and now Ford dealerships, from what I've seen, have been some of the worst offenders. Now, I am on a Ford dealership right now that I've been to many times before, and I've never seen a market adjustment. So it's not all Ford dealerships that have been doing this, but there have been a lot of them. And this price gouging by these Ford dealerships have been so bad that Jim Farley has actually had to address this. And what he said is that we've been very public with our dealers and in private with the dealer council to make it very clear that we could change the vehicle allocation. Now, allocations are basically the amount amount of vehicles that these dealers are able to get. When they sell some, they're able to get some back in their spots. So what Jim Farley is saying is that they could restructure these allocations if they see that these dealers are actually price gouging, meaning that they could take the allocations down, saying that okay, if there's a Ford dealership out there that's charging way too much for these trucks, then they're going to reduce the number of vehicles that they're actually going to be able to get in, meaning that a Ford dealership would make less money because they're getting less vehicles. And he goes on to say that the allocation could be reduced, and if we find this kind of price gouging, it's not good for customers and it's not good for the company. So that's a bunch of big talk coming from Jim Farley wanting to actually fix these issues. But I can tell you that from my observation and everything that I've looked into, Ford has actually not acted on this. And there's an easy answer for why they haven't done anything about this, and they're just really, it's all talk. That's because these dealerships, they're Ford's customers, and they have to keep these dealerships happy. And really, they're probably going to let these dealerships do just about whatever they want to do, because at the end of the day, they need these dealerships to take these allocations. They do not want to cut back allocations, especially in a time period right now that there are already dealers that are turning away allocations because they're having a hard time selling these Ford trucks. I mean, you can see just at this dealership here, this is a dealership that, in my opinion, is a pretty good dealership. I haven't seen any add-ons, I haven't seen any market adjustments, and they're still just stacked and stacked and stacked with trucks. A lot of these dealerships are starting to turn away allocations because they're not selling these trucks, and Ford needs them to take these allocations. They need to make these sales to these dealers so they can show it to their shareholders. So at a moment where the demand is decreasing daily, when day supply of inventory is going up and up and up, no matter what these dealerships do, no matter how much these dealerships charge, Ford's not going to cut any of their allocations. So something that consumers can actually look up online is the most recalled brands right now that they can buy in a vehicle, and they're going to see it's going to be Ford. And this is something to just further hurt the trust of the consumer. When a consumer that wants quality, they're going to go look online and see that, you know what, Ford is going to be the most likely vehicle to have an issue as soon as I buy that vehicle. That customer is probably, if they're on the fence between a Ford, a Chevy, if they're looking at some other kind of brand, they're going to choose that other brand because they know that Ford quality is going to be subpar to a lot of these other OEMs. And you can actually pull up these lists of brands that are most frequently recalled and see what they're recalled for. And most of the brands that I looked up, there were things like electrical issues, they were exterior lights, they were seat belts, but Ford's most recalled issue was their powertrain. What is that? That's their motor, their transmission, the things that make the vehicle go. That's the problem. The going is Ford's issue right now as far as what it needs to fix. So not little issues. These are big issues that Ford has to work on. Going's pretty important. So we're getting as many views every week as channels with millions and millions of subscribers, but you're not hitting that subscribe button. Let me know. Is it the weird uneven chin beard? I get it. My wife likes it. I wouldn't subscribe to this either, but please, for all of us weird chin bearders out there, please subscribe and hit that like button. Thanks. In Ford's last quarter, they actually had $900 million in warranty costs. Warranty costs are recalls. These are things that these trucks get sold, these vehicles get sold, and Ford has to call them back into these dealerships to actually get something fixed that was missed or was not right when they actually sent it out to these dealers. And on top of these recall costs, they actually had to spend an extra $300 million, and they cited that that was because of inflation. So whenever they go to actually fix these cars, it costs them more now because parts are more expensive, supply chains are still a thing, and as we know, because of inflation, everything just costs more. So Ford CEO Jim Farley has recently come out and said that the quality issues are so bad that he actually needs to take steps to change things to really address these quality issues that Ford is experiencing right now. So the three things that he has said that he wants to do is, one, he's going to actually hire a new quality team to put in place. The next thing he's going to do is actually put new protocols in place to check these vehicles before they get out to these dealers. One thing that I've read that they would do with a lot of these trucks is actually drive them 25 miles to make sure everything was good, everything was sound before they actually shipped them out. But they're realizing that, you know what, that's not enough. So they're actually upping the drive time now that they're testing out these trucks before they're actually sending them out to their dealers. And the last thing, this is a biggie, is that they're going to actually stop the production of some of these vehicles when they actually find an issue. Now, previously what they would do is they would just keep pushing them out, and then deal with the stuff after the fact with these recalls. But these recalls are becoming way too costly to actually do that anymore, so they need to catch the problem when they're actually producing it, and when they find these problems, they're stopping production until they have a fix for it. And we actually have a few examples of them doing that in the recent history. So they did it with the Ford Lightning, they've done it with the Mustang, and they've done it with the Mach-E. So they're actually starting to implement these things, trying to make changes to get the quality better. But as they're fighting these quality issues, production is going to suffer. So I have a confession to make. I'm not proud of it. It's something that I live with, but I am a Ford truck owner. All right, so it's no secret that I do a lot of these videos, and often I give Ford a really hard time. And that's really because I hate the direction that Ford's going. I think they're doing so many things wrong. And to be honest with you, I've always been a Ford guy. I've loved the design of the F-150s. In fact, the truck that I bought myself for me to be my everyday driver is an F-150. It's because I love Fords, I like the design, and I've always liked the interiors, the way things are set up. I love the way the Ford truck looks. But the Ford truck that I bought, it's a 2017, and it only had about 80,000 miles when I bought it. Not too long after I purchased it, it was missing pretty badly, and what I had to end up doing to it is basically rebuilding the motor. We had to do new heads, new valves. We had to rework the timing on it. So we had to basically go through the whole thing. I've even got a picture showing the entire cab lifted off the truck just so it was easier to get to the motor to actually rebuild a lot of that stuff. But all that to say is that a truck with 80,000 miles, this should not be a job that needs to be done. There should be better quality coming out of the factory to have the motor actually last longer than 80,000 miles. So anyway, we got that fixed. I drove it for a little bit longer, and now we get to today, and it's probably got, I maybe put 10,000 miles on it, but now we're starting to notice that it's consuming a little bit of oil. This is also a problem with the interior workings of the motor. Again, a truck at 80, 90,000 miles should not be experiencing this. And what I'm finding as a Ford owner right now is I'm getting tired of working on it, and especially these major jobs. If it was minor issues, if it was a sensor, a little electrical stuff that's going bad here or there, at 80 or 90,000 miles, I'm fine with it, whatever, we can fix it. Major engine issues with this Ford truck is not something that I want to continue to have to deal with. And me, as a lifelong Ford guy, someone who wants to have a Ford truck, I love the F-150. Now I'm looking at this truck and I'm saying, you know what, I feel like there's going to be continuous issues with the motor on this vehicle, and I don't want to deal with it anymore. So what am I going to do? I'm going to fix it, whatever it needs to do to fix it, and then I'm going to get rid of it. And I've already purchased the next vehicle that's going to be my daily driver, and guess what? It's not a Ford. And probably my next vehicle after that, it's probably not going to be a Ford. I need them to fix their quality issues before I am going to be a Ford consumer again. And this is the big time issue that Ford is going to have to figure out, and they're going to have to work through. And exactly what just happened to me is happening to tons of other consumers with the Ford name. And if, like me, these consumers start going to other brands and they stop going to Ford because the quality is just so bad, and because motors are having issues before 100,000 miles, then Ford is going to continue to lose customer after customer after customer. And if this keeps going and they don't get this quality issue fixed in the near future, This can really destroy their brand. And to tell you the truth, I'm rooting for Ford. I love Ford trucks. I love the way that these trucks look. And I would love for Jim Farley to get this fixed, because I would really, really, really like to own another Ford truck. But with the quality that they have right now, I'm not gonna buy one. It's not good for it's not good for going to Ford because it's a truck.